players on the floor to start it out tonight. 9 of them All-Americans, a record for the final. Stanford, for the first time in a while, the underdog. That's why they're wearing the black jerseys. Penn State, the top seed, in their home whites. If you're just joining us for the first time this season, some rule changes. The games have dropped from 30 to 25 points. We now call them sets. There are also fewer substitutions. It's all rally scoring. First one to win 3 sets wins the championship.
And one of the expected effects of that rule change was more upsets, but we didn't see Penn State lose a single set until the semifinals. That was a bit of a surprise for one team to be able to dominate in shorter sets.
Another record they set this year. It was a streak that got to 111 consecutive games before they lost a couple to Nebraska in the semis. And Feluka Akinradawo starting out to get the kill as Aaron Waller now will go back beyond the service line. 4 seniors that will get some playing time today, all of them looking for that elusive national championship. The overpass, Kleinman puts it away. Point Stanford.
That's going to be a big key for both these teams. Every team that feels like it's got to have a shot at Penn State has to serve tough immediately while they're coming out with the ace, putting Penn State in trouble.
And coach, in the semis, both these teams relied heavily on their outside hitters. They weren't as balanced as they had been over the course of the regular season. Stanford jumps on top here, 3-zip.
That's been one of Penn State's advantages. 5 solid options on offense. All of those players can make a big impact on this game, and you can't just shut one down. You got to shut down 2 or 3, and the best way is with tough serving.
Glass looking for Hodge outside, and Penn State's on the board. Megan Hodge, the 6'3" junior from Durham, North Carolina. When we talk about the athleticism that we're seeing, the net is about 7 feet 4 inches. And most of these women can touch 10 feet or better on that Penn State front line.
Every Penn State front line player, and in fact at the end of each side of the net there's something called the antenna. It is a vertical extension of the sideline. They all can touch above that. That antenna is at 10 feet. Each of his starters touches 10-5 or higher. Amazing athleticism on this Penn State team.
They would be above the rim on a basketball court, and another slam for Stanford, 5-1 Cardinal.
And the way you take away from that athleticism is by forcing aces, just as Kleinman did there. That's the second ace that Megan Hodge has given away so far for Penn State.
Alex, the 6'4" sophomore from Manhattan Beach, serving again to Hodge. Glass, the back set to Blair Brown, dug up by Gabby Ailes. And then the block. Penn State, the top blocking team in the nation. They've only been out-blocked once all year.
And they are going to need to shut Cynthia Barbosa down. I expect her to have a very good match, playing a little more loosely. They all said we want to wear those black jerseys and get to be the underdog this year. Lower expectations, even though they've been now in their 3rd final in a row.
Barbosa going to work again. This time gets it through the block for the kill. The 6' senior from Long Beach, California, the 3-time All-American who was an Olympic alternate this past summer for the U.S.
Smart adjustment by Stanford, or smart tactic, and that is she runs at the gap between 2 blockers. Penn State needs to adjust by get rid of that hole between 2 blockers, go shoulder to shoulder.
Akinradawo was also an alternate on that team, and Krista Armato pounds it down. Point Penn State, the 6'2" senior from Aliquippa, PA, really the heart and soul, the fire of this Penn State team, as Megan Hodge goes back to serve. Penn State gets a piece of it. Armato sliding behind for another kill.
Both these teams went 5 sets in the semifinals, and one of the reasons why was Armato for Penn State and Akinradawo for Stanford disappeared for parts of that match when they couldn't control the ball. Great for both teams. They've got to be happy that their middles are going right off the bat.
Lichtman looking for Kleinman. Point for Stanford. Used the block to get the kill.
Stanford pulling out a new wrinkle there. It's rare that Alex Kleinman has hit back row behind the setter. That's what we call the D pattern. Usually she is coming right down the middle of the court on the pipe, trying something different to keep Penn State's block off balance.
Cassidy Lichtman from Poway, California with the serve. The tip from Hodge gets it down for the kill.
And there again is a little bit of a wrinkle. Hodge has not been hitting that D herself on the Penn State team. She prefers also to come down the middle. So both Hodge and Kleinman trying to adjust and keep the opposing blockers off balance, trying to create wrinkles, and then that'll open it up for other players.
As they have done throughout the season, Harmato usually doesn't serve, so Kelsey Ream will come on to serve, one of their substitutions. Junior from Wright-In State College. Lickman to Barbosa. Over 3 blockers for the kill.
Remember when we were here in practice yesterday, Coach Rose was hitting that very shot to his players. Got to watch out for the roll shot, and he was running them all over the court. Megan Hodge was exhausted, but it falls on this play, and it's got to be driving Coach Rose nuts. He's been emphasizing that. Got to watch out for that play.
Popped up wide by Ailes on the Hodge kill. Almost all of their practice yesterday, Karch, was on defense. He was really proud of the fact that they outdug Nebraska in the semis.
They got outblocked, which was a surprise, but they outdug Nebraska, also a surprise.
Lickman looking for Waller. Glass was there. Hodge again going to go out of the back. Lickman to Kleinman this time, off the block. Point Stanford.
This is an interesting matchup there with the 6'4" Kleinman against the 6'5" Blair Brown at the net. Gabby Ailes, the hometown favorite here.
From Bellevue, Nebraska, grew up about 45 minutes south of Omaha. Nicole Fawcett has it sent back. Stanford with the block. She wears that different colored jersey, by the way. She's the libero, can only serve and defend, cannot attack at the net. One of the nuances of college volleyball. Punched over by Brown. What an athletic maneuver, changing in midair.
Confusion between Brown and setter Alicia Glass. Brown was expecting the ball to go farther away from that setter. What a great save. That ball, I can't believe it fell. Kind of left-handing it over, just trying to keep it in play.
Fawcett, their best server, off the tape. Lickman, quick to Akinrado, blocked. Waller outside, popped up by Wilson. Glass looking for Ari, and that's the second time they've had trouble on that.
The exact same play. Need a little better communication. It's a little surprising that that's happening. You would have expected it 2 nights ago when there were 17,000 Nebraska fans going crazy in here, but a little more quiet now that Nebraska's out of this tournament. That shouldn't be a problem between hitter and setter.
This entire group has been together, by the way, for the last 2 years. They didn't lose any key components from last year's championship team.
What a cover by Holthouse. Coach Rose says that's her best skill.
Kleinman.
And she comes up with the dig.
Another good get. Penn State looking a bit out of sync here offensively. Stanford will try and capitalize. Barbosa, the back row attack for the kill.
Penn State's blockers hitters don't often get blocked, so Holthouse doesn't get a chance to do what we call hitter coverage. That's helping your own hitter when she gets blocked back down, but she made a wonderful play there. They lose the rally in the end, but kept it alive. She only gets 3 or 4 of those kinds of chances because they get blocked so infrequently. Such an effective offense.
Stanford 12-7 here in the first. Hodge with the tip. Showing her finesse game as last year's NCAA tournament most outstanding player. She had 26 kills in the final a year ago against Stanford.
You got to be starting to call her big game Megan, because she has elevated her game throughout the playoffs, hitting almost 450, much higher than her season average.
Service error from Holthouse. Megan, the Big Ten Freshman of the Year and Player of the Year 3 years ago, and look at her numbers from last year's championship match. Blair Brown. Nice play by Kleinman to keep it alive. Barbosa. 5 kills now in the opening set for Cynthia.
She came out swinging. Remember, she got blocked that very first ball. That might get in the hitter's mind on the first play. You want to have a good one, but that didn't stop her at all, and she's on fire for Stanford. They need that out of her, and it's helped them to a 6-point lead here.
Point for Penn State on the service error. Penn State had not lost a set the entire regular season, didn't drop one coming into the semis. The most they had ever trailed was 7 points. And then they lost not once but twice in the semis to Nebraska and bounced back to win the 5th. In a match that lasted 2 hours and 15 minutes, about an hour longer than their season average. They hadn't been playing a lot of volleyball. They were so dominant.
epic Thursday of volleyball. Fans were buzzing all around the country about those two semifinal matches.
Stanford's was an historic comeback, down 0-2, and for the first time in semifinal history in the 28 years of the tournament, they came back to win in the semis. And they are going to work here in the opener. 15-10 Cardinal. Midway through the first set, it's been a memorable season for Penn State. Will it be an historic one? Their quest for perfection when we come back.
Small and Penn State did something probably as good as any of those teams with the dominance it showed until last Thursday, and that may have been a factor to kind of give some hope to Stanford. Hey, this team is not unbeatable. Stanford up 15-11 right now.
It's been amazing, though, around town. The talk as the ace from Hodge for Penn State. You've had a chance to meet with a lot of the coaches, and the consensus is pretty much that Penn State is the heavy favorite.
Absolutely. In fact, yesterday we're in the midst of a coaching convention that always happens around the NCAA semifinals, and no coach picked Stanford to win this match.
Wide on that effort from Harmato, point Stanford.
Another thing we want to kind of help teach people more about, there's an unofficial statistic. It doesn't show up on the press statistics, but it's how a team controls the opposition's serve. Just 2 plays ago, Megan Hodge aced one of the Stanford players. That would be actually a 0 pass. There is a perfect pass. Penn State can run its offense. When the pass goes right on top of the setter's head, she can set any of the 3 options. That would be a 3 pass that we just saw. The ace, of course, would be a 0. So 0 to 3 scale. And typically, this season, Stanford has averaged about a 2.5, Penn State about a 2.3, but it's very high correlation. If you pass better than the other team, control there's a 1 pass. No option but to go to Barbosa. And you see the offense completely breaking down. Barbosa doesn't get a good snap on that ball. So that all starts with the serving of Penn State. In that case, Kelsey Ream. Let's see what kind of pass they get this time. That's a 2 pass. Still 2 options there, Kleinman and Barbosa. But Penn State gets an opportunity to try and score.
Free ball for Stanford. Lichtman going to Akoba. Punched back over by Hodge. Waller. Block got a piece of it. Glass going to set Fawcett for the kill. Point Penn State. And they're within 1.
Comes storming back, and it's the serving of Penn State that has broken down Stanford's offense.
Unable to pass effectively, and that's allowing Penn State to get right back into it. When we come back, Gabby Ailes coming home for the holidays. She grew up a huge Husker fan, but when the time came, she really couldn't pass up the opportunity to go play at Stanford, and she is now their starting libero after walking on. Got a chance to talk with Gabby's sister Tatum, who told me a great story. There she is on the far right. Growing up together down in Nebraska City, they used to play carch on the side of the house, and they'd knock balls up onto the roof, and it would slide back down the roof to them so they could get a long rally going.
I love hearing that. You know, players have passion for the game when all it takes is 2 players and they figure out a game to play. That anybody who loves that game is going to become great because they're self-driven.
They were both gym rats. Both parents were big volleyball players and fans, so they spent a lot of time in the gym. And Gabby used to pretend that she was Lori Endicott, the former All-American and Olympic setter for Nebraska,
who I think was watching here the other night in the semifinals.
Harmato is blocked. Good D by Glass to pop it up. Lichtman going to Waller. Right at DeRico. Got another one. Fawcett's going to swing, and it trickles down the net and down. Tied at 17.
Well, one of the things Coach Dunning talked about coming into this was we want to swing away. The other night we were only making an error every 13 or 14 swings. We have to be more aggressive, less conservative. You can see that in both sides, both outside hitters for both teams blasting away.
Kleinman long, and Penn State has now won 8 of the last 10 points.
And much of it is that serve and passing or serve receive battle. Penn State really picking it up, and there is what we would call, of course it's an ace, but it's a 0 pass for Stanford. It's pulling their average down, and they can run no offense off of that.
First lead of the match for Penn State. They extend it to a couple on a 9-2 run right now since the midway point of this first set. These two teams were together in Sacramento for last year's national championship. It's the first time that the same two teams have gone back-to-back in title matchups. And in the first all-rally scoring 5-set match in women's history, Penn State took on the favored Cardinal. You see him wearing the white jerseys. Megan Hodge was the tournament MVP, and Penn State won it all with no seniors in the starting lineup. They're all back again to try and go back-to-back.
And it wasn't looking that great because Penn State was up 2-0. Stanford comes storming back to even it all at 2 sets apiece, but then Penn State turned it on. The one thing I think that helped Stanford this year was they knew they could come back from that kind of a lead, and in fact did so 2 days ago. For the first time ever, a team comes back from a 2-0 deficit to win in the NCAA semifinal round.
Megan Hodge with 4 kills to lead the way. 3 aces for Penn State. At the Women's Volleyball National Championship match here in Omaha, a 9-2 Penn State run as the top seed on top here in set number 1, 19-17. The Cardinals seeking their 7th title. 6 is the most of any program in history. Penn State looking for its 3rd, trying to go back-to-back. Set is to 25, must win by 2, and Penn State is rolling now.
That's a great adjustment by Fawcett. Erin Waller is very effective with this set, but she often hits angle. That time Fawcett stepped in and took the angle away.
Lichtman looking for Kleinman. Block, got a piece of it to keep it up. Glass hustles there. Ailes the pass to Lichtman. Kleinman again. Look at the dig.
What an up by Hodge.
Quick one to Okoba, can't get it down. Ailes will set Barboza out of the back. Rocket right at Glass. Waller got it down.
Yet again, angle by Waller. But I love that defense that Hodge is playing. She's known really for her offensive prowess, but really has stepped it up in the postseason, had a number of great matches, helping her team in the backcourt also.
Stanford had to work awfully hard for that one, and they got to pull within a couple. Brown with the tip around Akinradawa. Boy, at 6'5", she is real silky smooth, making adjustments in midair.
Anybody who was at the All-Star banquet or the All-American banquet last night, there were all these 6-foot-plus ladies. It was an awesome sight with some of the shorter coaches that went to stand up there with their athletes.
Akinradawa got it by the block. Faluka was last year's National Player of the Year. One of 9 All-Americans on the floor for this championship match. That's the most in history. She has come on strong in the second half of the season and into the postseason for them after spending the summer trying to train for a spot on the Beijing Olympics. Came up just short of that goal. But here's the photo from the AVCA banquet last night with all 9 All-Americans all together.
You can see Alicia Glass looks pretty short amongst that group, and 7 of the 14 first-teamers are playing tonight.
By the way, they're all 6 foot or better, folks. Lichtman, Akinradawa. Megan Hodge going to get a go at it. Lichtman goes back to Faluka. Penn State just getting a piece of everything with their block to keep the ball alive for Brown. They represent half of the entire first-team All-Americans from all around the country. And they are together tonight. Armato pounces on it. Set point for Penn State.
And another 0 pass. You can see Stanford's passing really broke down once it got to 15, had that lead.
Akinradawa keeps him in it.
That, on the other hand, was a perfect pass. And when it happens like that, Akinradawa can put the ball anywhere she wants to. Their offense much more effective when they control Penn State's serve.
Faluka thundered that one. Kleinman setting to stay in the set. Good serve. Fawcett's dug. Out wide to Barboza, blocked. Akinrado with the tip, and Wilson covers. Check that, Megan Hodge got it. A 15-5 run by Penn State to close out the first set.
There it is. Stanford's breaking down in the second half of that first set, down to a 1.9. They had a big lead until they got to 15, but then their offense broke down because they couldn't control the other team's serve.
And once again, that's on a scale of 0 being a bad pass, 3 being an excellent pass. And so the 2.4 for Penn State, very good, as the Cardinal get the first point of this second set. We'll check that Penn State with the opening set, and another ace. That's their 4th of the match already.
They also outblocked and outdug Stanford, much of it again because of the effective serving, taking Stanford out of its offense.
Nicole Fawcett, the 6'4" senior from Zanesfield, Ohio, hosted her team at her Grandma Ruth's house for Thanksgiving. Often these volleyball players are on the road for the fall holidays, and so the whole team went over to Grandma Ruth's house. She cooked up a big dinner for them, and they had a great time away from home. They've been singing Christmas carols on the road from one of their matches after they clinched the Big Ten championship. They've really been enjoying the ride this year, Karch, and not really feeling the weight of any pressure to repeat.
And as we have watched the practices here, they've clearly been the loosest team, looking like they're just enjoying their experience. You wouldn't expect that. You'd expect a team to be pressing a little with all the streaks they had on the line and defending champions also.
They're having a big viewing party back at Pickles in State College. A lot of the Penn State fans, they draw so well at Rec Hall. 63 wins in a row. Stanford, the last team to beat them last September. And the Cardinal have no response right now for the Penn State service game.
A 5th ace. Confusion in the seam there. Normally, that would be Ailes' ball. Normally, players want to reach to their left to take, depending on the coach's scheme, to take the middle ball.
Lichtman going to Barboza. Blocked by Harmato. They are outblocking opponents in the NCAA tournament by an almost 4-1 margin.
And she really, Harmato is the emotional leader of this team. She said she couldn't be, imagine playing for any coach besides Russ Rose. Loves playing for him, and he loves coaching her. Would sign a lifetime contract if he could.
Long. They get the touch. No, point Penn State. That's the one nice thing about both these programs, Karch, the tremendous support from their alums. Obviously, they've been winning for years at both these places. They're the only two programs that have played in all 28 NCAA tournaments. And you always see former players hanging around, coming to practice, encouraging the current crop of players.
Yeah, how about Coach Dunning? 6 of his 8 years, he takes his team to the finals. That is amazing in this ultra-competitive Division I women's college volleyball. Over 330 programs, and they're there year in, year out.
If he wins a 5th championship tonight, that would put him at the top of the wins list in finals. But things not going his way right now, down 7-2 here in the second.
Nope, and on the other bench, Russ Rose, actually surprising to me that it took him as long with the great program that he has to win a 2nd championship last year, now on the verge of a 3rd.
Fawcett long out of the back, point Stanford. There is Russ Rose in his signature blue sweater that he always wears over on the bench.
He talks about how he's an attitude guy, not a technical guy, and he's always cracking his kids up. In fact, at 10-8, there was a critical timeout in that semis where he really loosened things up, and they could have broken at that point. A tough 10-8 5th set against Nebraska 2 days ago.
Glass looking to Harmato, and she's stuffed by Kleinman. Maybe that'll be the emotional play they're looking for.
Kleinman reading this play perfectly. Normally, Harmato likes to go all the way out to this antenna in your screen, but that time stayed about 5 feet inside. Kleinman didn't fall for it, hands all over it.
Once again, that net is about 7 feet 4 inches, and a lot of these frontline players are playing the game up at about 10 feet at the top of their leap. Good D by Stanford. Glass to Hodge. Faluka got it. Kleinman.
Oh, nice.
Popped up by Holehouse. And they're not going to be able to keep that one alive. Point Cardinal.
You are right. These players are playing so high above the net. It's amazing. You saw in the middle of that rally Hodge going right over a strong Stanford block. Janet Akoba is one of the best jumpers in the gym. Went right over her on the angle.
Hodge with the tip, covered by Fishburne. Kleinman tried to push it deep, and it's long. The NCAA championships will be returning to ESPN in March, starting with the indoor track and field finals. For more information on the 2009 Winter NCAA Championships, go to ncaa.com. It's the official online home for all 88 NCAA championships. As we close out the fall championships with our women's volleyball, congratulations to some of the national champions. It was a good fall at Maryland for both the men's soccer team and the women's field hockey team. And the Carolina women's soccer team also winning a title. They're 19th for Anson Dorrance. Armato, she's almost got as many kills already as she had the entire semifinal match.
And it's funny, earlier this season she had to be banned from this jump measuring device called the Vertec. And remember, all their players touch 10.5 or higher. She went so hard at this machine she broke her hand before the start of the season. So Coach Rose said, never again, just stay away from that thing. Got to keep you healthy.
They don't let them use it anymore. Hodge with the pass. Last tried to go over on 2.
But Lichtman was all over it. Great volleyball IQ by her.
Hodge to Fawcett deep. Point Stanford.
Cassie Lichtman is just such a great all-around volleyball player. Last year she was basically a serving specialist, passing specialist, defense. This year she turns into at the early part of the year she was running the offense, setting part of the time and attacking part of the time very efficiently.
That was one of the big reasons that they are riding a 16-match win streak into this championship. They switched from a 6-2 offense with 2 setters to just using a 5-1 offense with Lichtman as their primary setter. They haven't lost since that switch. Barboza tried to cut that one and missed it.
And I think it really helped once they switched to the 1-setter offense. Instead of kind of giving 50% of the snaps to each quarterback, Lichtman got more of the action and has gotten better and better. And that's why, much of why Stanford has gone on this streak.
Barboza through the block for the kill.
Barboza being really aggressive, swinging hard. We saw her, that was her 7th kill. We saw her one play ago hitting wide, but she comes right back strong. I like seeing that. Not intimidated here, hungry for the win.
There's a stuff for Akinrado. You know, the seniors were asked about whether or not they would be considered failures if they lost a 3rd consecutive final, and Barboza just kind of laughed at that and said, absolutely not. Our success is based on the fact that we fight and lay it on the line every time we step on the court.
And we've been in 3 finals, and we've won 3 straight Pac-10 championships in a great conference like that. Nobody can call their careers failures, she said, because of one loss tonight.
They've come up a bit short in the last 2 title matches. They are just the 3rd program, by the way, to go to 3 straight finals. Barboza. She's missed a few balls long here so far.
It's almost like she's being so aggressive, she's not getting quite the snap on the ball. You saw that last one have very little topspin, and that's why it flew out more, and it stays in the court.
Is it not also, Coach, a strategy because Penn State gets so high on the block that teams will hit a little high to ricochet the ball off their fingertips?
Sometimes they'll aim for that. Nebraska, we saw that do that a lot, called hitting the high hands, especially down the line. But on that one swing by Barboza, she only had one blocker in front of her. She may not have seen it well, expected a second one there for the hands.
Wilson, no. Good D by Akinrado. Faluka patrolling that net. She will close out her career as the best hitter ever in college volleyball.
the highest efficiency, and that's calculated by taking all of your kills, you subtract all of the times you got blocked or hit out, and then divide by your career attempts, and she's higher than anybody else.
Brown stuffed. Big play by Akinrado and Barboza to tie it at 12.
Barboza not that big at 6 feet tall on the left side, but a very skilled blocker. Certainly Stanford got to take that into account. Lichtman is considered a little bit of more of a weak block. So going to the back toward that side of the Stanford defense might be a smarter strategy.
Sent a bit long. Cervicera gives Penn State the lead back. Roberta Holhouse will serve. What a year it's been for Penn State volleyball, both the men and the women, the reigning national champions. And the men will be heavily favored next spring to go back-to-back, which is what the women are trying to do. They have a great working relationship, the men and women do at Penn State.
Well, the women were asked yesterday, does it bother you to be compared to or thought of as a men's team? And they said, no, we think of it as a great compliment. And that kind of a set right there that Megan Hodge was going for is typical of that. Faster tempo, faster speed. But they do have an argument with their men's team as to who would win. And if they faced off, the men say, we could take 2 of our players and beat any of your 6. And they say, no way. That
would be a match worthy of watching. And right now the Cardinals get another point for their first lead of this set, as they joined Stanford's men and women back in '96-97 as the only 2 programs to have both championship trophies in the same academic year. Brown, boy, after she had gotten blocked the previous attempt, the nice tip around the outside.
Very nice recognition to see how far, how deep Ailes was playing, knowing that that would be wide open. See right there, Ailes way back about the 25-foot line. Good recognition by Brown.
Second team All-American, one of 6 All-Americans on the Penn State side of the net. One of 9 All-Americans in this match, an NCAA record for a championship. Akinrado is blocked. Ailes bumps it up. Kleinman, no. Glass tried to attack. She'll give it up for Hodge. Megan Hodge, 5th kill of the match for her. Midway through set number 2, Penn State on top 1-0 and up a point in the second.
So I lost every single warm-up battle, but hopefully lost the battle and then won the war. There's a nice high flat that I'm talking about, over the block instead of dragging it down and getting blocked. And speaking of blocking, Stanford really on fire. 5 blocks this set alone, only 1 in the first, and that's kept Stanford in this battle.
They're out blocking the top blocking team in the nation, and the top hitting team, Penn State, is hitting negative so far in this set. Armato coming behind. Did she run back into it? No, it did not. She did not. Point Penn State.
Good read, though, by Kleinman. Armato can hit that sharp angle, middle, or line, and Kleinman all over the line that time. Great hands by her.
Armato, who was quiet in the semis until the 5th set, already has as many kills tonight as she did on Thursday. And another big swing from Stanford to tie it up.
And another flat trajectory. Very effective by Kleinman. It also puts all of her 6'5" frame to use by aiming deep into the corner. She'll never get blocked.
Set is to 25 after win by 2. Cassidy Lichtman serving. Hodge, the tip out of the back. Stanford, oh, lucky there to keep that alive. Got away with 1. Fawcett. Don't get away with another. Nicole Fawcett, the National Player of the Year with the kill.
Crushing away high hands herself, but Stanford really a bad break. 2 players were all over that easy tip that came from Megan Hodge in the backcourt. That should have been a free ball situation for Stanford. As you mentioned, they struggled just to get it over the net.
Kelsey Riemann to serve, and boy was Fawcett big in the 5th set on Thursday. Was a part of all of their points in a 6-0 run late in that set to secure a spot in the final.
Just as she was big in the 5th set 1 year ago against this same team. Really turned it on when they put the Jets on and accelerated past Stanford.
Timeout for John Dunning and Stanford. They fall behind by a couple here in set number 2.
And both of them far below their season averages. Their season, Barboza 274, Akinrado 462. Akinrado's problem is just that when she gets set, it's usually in front of two blockers are in front of her, and Barboza almost being a little too aggressive, playing too loose. There are some errors that we saw earlier in this set.
Not a huge area of concern just yet, because remember when they fell down 0-2 in the semis, they were both quiet, and then boy did they come on big. In the last 3 sets they combined for 27 kills and just 2 errors. And
Nebraska came back from down 2-0 against this Penn State team, so even if Stanford loses this set, they know it is certainly possible to storm back.
Megan Hodge with the kill.
Now that was out of the back row. Did you see how she bounced that to the 15-foot line? Such an incredibly talented athlete. They did not run that much in the regular season. Stanford wasn't ready for it.
She and a couple of her Penn State teammates said no to an invitation to the U.S. national camp. They didn't think they would have a legitimate shot at making the Olympics, so they decided to stay home and work out together. Even though Hodge, growing up in volleyball, said 2 of her favorite players were Logan Tom and Ogonna Namani, who both starred at Stanford before playing on the indoor U.S. national team and going to Beijing's Olympics.
And Logan Tom was a real star for the U.S. as that same kind of player, the outside hitter who can be a great passer in the backcourt, a great attacker in the front court, blocker too. I see Megan Hodge filling that role in the future. We got to talk to the new USA Women's Olympic coach, or national team coach, Hugh McCutcheon, who switched over from the men. He was here earlier this week looking at all these players. He had to be taking a big look at Megan Hodge. A couple of years experience. She may be playing a big role in London.
The U.S. women won the silver medal in Beijing, but there could be a lot of turnover in the next 4 years for the spots on the 2012 team. Here's Hodge with the swing. Ailes popped it up. Block gets a piece of Barboza's swing. Blair Brown dug by Waller, but it's going to go wide. Blair Brown at 6'5" is really doing a nice job of getting up and around the block. She's got 5 kills. Has been hitting over 450 so far in the postseason.
Yet another player, all the Penn State players, we've never seen this before, all hitting at over 300 for the season.
Yeah, that's another record they could set, all 6 starters at that number. And as a team, if they can get over 400 as a team, that would be the first time that's happened in a season.
Nebraska was so good on defense, digging them and blocking the other day, that for the first time all season, Penn State dropped below that 400 mark. So they're at 398 right now. If they have a fairly efficient offense, there's some question as to what the score should be.
That's Paul Albright, the down official. He's working with Margie Ray, Chris Tan, and Kylie Nichols on this championship match.
Our score has it at 21-19, as you see at the top of your screen, but on the scoreboard in the facility here, it says 20 all. Coach Rose arguing that it should be 21-19.
Our chief statistician, Mike Sondheimer's ready to jump over the table and straighten him out over there. He does a terrific job for us here at the national championships. He's got it at 21-19.
Man extraordinaire, taking care of us.
In the meantime, here a little delay to slow the match down a little bit. Penn State would like to try and close this one out. They're 4 points from the second set. We are at the Quest Center here in Omaha, Nebraska for the 2008 NCAA Women's Volleyball National Championship. The top 2 seeds in the tournament, both advancing to the finals. I'm Beth Mowens, along with 3-time gold medalist, 3-time national champion at UCLA, Karch Kiraly. Stanford, can they break through? They've lost the last 2 finals. This is their 3rd trip in a row. And what's at stake for Penn State? A 63-match winning streak. They haven't lost since Stanford beat them last September. And if they win tonight, Karch, pretty much the entire volleyball community is ready to give them the label of the best team in the sport's history.
Absolutely, and I think part of the reason they've been able to push themselves so well is Coach Rose. In fact, he said just a couple of weeks ago, his players were telling him, "You're too negative." Let's see if we can hear him.
Okay, it was 18-20. Penn State was up 2 at the time.
We'll see what they decide on the scorekeeping question. But Coach Rose said, I know I'm doing my job. If my players tell me I'm criticizing, I'm too negative, then it's perfect, because he's relentless. Very seldom will he give out many compliments, and that's one of the reasons they've been able to push and keep this streak alive and push themselves when they had everybody back. They could have gotten complacent this season, having a whole championship team back.
We're being told that even John Dunning over on the Stanford bench has 21-19 on his score sheet. And he's saying, hey, come on, let's get it going. Dunning, who has 2 titles at Stanford and 2 at the University of Pacific, where he started out his career. This is his 9th trip to the championship, and that's more than any other coach in the women's game.
He took over UOP in the early 80s. His first year wins a championship. Takes over Stanford in 2001. First year, right to the top, and wins a championship. Great credit to him building or keeping a very strong Stanford program going after what Don Shaw did with the program, winning 4 titles in the 90s.
And a chant of 21-19 now breaks out from both cheering sections.
They just want to see playing. We've noticed throughout the week this facility isn't exactly the warmest, and that's actually a little bit of a concern. You don't want to let these great athletes cool off. They're feeling good when the action is going and there are short timeouts, but this is a long break.
Now I'm starting to look for an NFL official coming out from underneath the hood in one of those instant replay nightmare reviews.
Well, there may be some question, because a few plays ago Nicole Fawcett attacked from outside from the left side, and the ball flew and landed out of bounds, but the referee called touch and point Penn State. The scorekeeper might not have seen it and given it point to Penn State, to Stanford, because the ball landed out, not realizing there was a touch. Barboza ready to paper, scissors, rock for the score. I love it. Just get this thing going, she says.
A lot of these players are friends. They've played on national teams growing up, and
Alicia Glass is one of them. We're talking about all these Olympic potential players. She feels like she's encouraged because they seem less out of reach now that she's gotten to share the court with Nicole Fawcett and Megan Hodge. Oh, now 2019.
And now they're going to take a point away from Penn State here. Wow. In a national championship match.
Roll back the tape. That shouldn't happen. A little confusion.
So instead of what we have here officially, 21-19, what both coaches were agreeing to, 21-19, it is 20-19. Penn State serving with the 1-point lead. Kleinman blocked.
I think that's a little to Penn State's advantage, that they get to serve and Stanford has to run the offense after that long break.
Timeout called by Stanford after the long delay. And it's 21-19. Well, Sunday night, 2 of the top women's basketball teams will hit the court on ESPN2. It's the Stanford Cardinal, ranked 4th in the country, taking on 10th ranked Tennessee. It's women's college basketball and holiday hoops, presented by Kay Jewelers on ESPN2 Sunday night at 7 Eastern. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. And it's the Reaching the Summit countdown to 1,000 for Pat Summitt, with 991 career wins. The earliest she could get to 1,000 would be on January 25th at Auburn. And it's possible you'll be able to see that 1,000th win on the ESPN family of networks. They'll be at Ole Miss on January 29th on ESPNU, and at Oklahoma on ESPN2's Big Monday on February 2nd. As Pat Summitt tries to scale that summit and get to 1,000 career wins. Andy Banikowski's got over 1,000 on the women's side, and volleyball, and then there's Russ Rose sitting behind Dave Shoji, third all-time.
Storming on. In fact, if he gets the one today, he got 38 wins this season. He gets 37, 38 next season. He's right there breaking the mark. Dave Shoji, great coach at Hawaii, should pass it before Rose, but Rose has done it in fewer seasons. And another great coach, maybe with one of his best coaching jobs, best coaching seasons, John Cook there on your screen, almost taking down the unprecedentedly dominant, until 2 nights ago, Penn State.
What a great job by this Nebraska program, and their fans have been incredible here in Omaha, setting a new NCAA record with over 17,400 people in the building in the semifinals. They played in one of the most memorable matches in tournament history, winning their region final, coming from down 0-2 against Washington in Seattle. And then a part of that memorable night 2 nights ago when both the semis went 5 as Barboza gets the kill. Stanford within 1. We've had a little controversy here in the second set with what we had as the official score, a 2-point lead for Penn State. They took one of those points away. Fawcett out of the back. Ailes with the pass to Lickman. Faluka sliding behind. Armato going to back set to Hodge. That's stuffed. Blair Brown with the tip, got it down.
She saw it happen before, and you saw that she didn't give it away till later. She uses a nice arm swing there and just breaks it out. Looks like it's going to be a hit, and then it comes, and Ailes can't get there. Kleinman may have to think about going after that ball herself behind, because Ailes is dug in so deep in the court.
Kleinman. Fawcett swooping out of the back, missed it. Point Stanford. McEnroe to serve.
Coach Dunning still trying to check on things here. I don't know if he's wondering what the score is or if he has any timeouts. Now we've got 22-21, and the scoreboard here says 23-22. You got like 3 or 4 different possible scores here.
Russ Rose actually has a degree. He started out his coaching career at Nebraska in statistics. He's got all the numbers written down there. It was great the other day on one of the press conferences. Said the last time I was up here was at a Bootsy Collins concert with the Parliament Funkadelic back in the late 70s. Bringing his team back to Omaha, and the service error for Faluka.
And that delay certainly didn't help. It's hard as a server to have to wait and wait and wait at the service line. First set point for Penn State.
Kleinman buries it. Point Stanford, 24-23 Penn State. So they've got one more set point right here.
Although remember, the set would be over by now if Penn State had not lost that. So if Stanford comes back, they'll get to steal one. And there's a bad pass. Opportunity for Stanford.
Fawcett wide. And we're tied at 24.
Rose doesn't want to let this one get away with a timeout there. Bad break for Penn State. That set would be over at 25-23 without the lost point.
Sets to 25, but you've got to win by 2. There's a replay of that last play, and boy, Karch, that certainly looked good. Did it go outside the antenna?
Well, she is outside. The linesman in your lower left has the best view of that ball, and she was standing outside. The ball landed just outside, actually on the line, but I don't see how she could have. The thing is, it's not where it landed. It went outside the antenna from my view, because the linesman behind her immediately called out before the ball ever landed. It was his opinion that it went outside that antenna, or that it touched that antenna on the way out.
Even though the linesman on the opposite side, which did not have the best view of the ball coming over the net, did call it landing in. And Reven at 24, and you see Russ Rose, I think he just said, hey, this should have been over, 25-23.
I think he thinks it's a good call. Somebody on his bench would have argued that vehemently if it was clearly an in hit.
I think he was referring to the scoring debate that we had earlier in the set.
Important for Penn State to come out strong. Stanford would love to steal this one.
Lichtman serving. Better pass. Fawcett rips it. Third set point for Penn State.
Stanford has to move its block in. Fawcett loves to hit that hard angle. And if she has some court to hit at, it means the block didn't adjust.
Kelsey Reen to serve for the set. Lichtman looking for Kleinman. Good get by Dorico. Here comes Fawcett for the set. Free ball Penn State. Glass had to push it over. Kept alive by Lichtman. Barboza out of the back. No. Dorico, another big play. Fawcett. Ailes popped it up. Hodge out of the back. And that'll do it.
Incredible defense by the backcourt players there. Ailes and Dorico.
Sets 1 and 2 go to Penn State. They're a set away from going back-to-back and winning another national championship.
They also have some history. They're the only team, Stanford is, to beat undefeated teams, undefeated going into the finals 2 other years, UCLA in 1992 and Long Beach in 2001. So they have some history of being able to take down the never taken down before team.
Blair Brown across court. Point Penn State. Fawcett with the service error, gives it right back. We've talked, Karch, about how important it is on that serve receive, the passing efficiency scale. 0 is not a very good pass. 3 is the best you can get. And on that scale, Penn State's numbers the better thus far.
Absolutely. For the match, Penn State is at a 2.4, Stanford at only about a 2.1. You might have expected Stanford to lead that battle. They have to lead that battle if they're going to have a chance here. The poorer the pass, the less a team can run its offense. And there it is, Penn State winning easily or more easily in the first set. A closer margin there, but still Penn State leading and passing well above its season average of about 2.3.
The pass to Lichtman, who sets up Barboza. Off of Holhouse and up. Lichtman outside. Barboza stuffed. Carmano and Brown all over it at 6'5" and 6'2".
Exactly. That is a scary combination there. Penn State loves to have Blair Brown, that 6'5", to shut down some of the line. Let's see what kind of a pass Stanford makes this time on that 0 to 3 scale.
On a net that's 7 feet 4 inches, they are playing way above it. So is Faluka Akinradawa with the blast.
And that was a perfect pass, or what you would rate a 3 on that 0 to 3 scale. And you see Stanford's offense winning that battle. Akinradawa with the kill.
Hodge the pass to Glass. Go back outside to Brown, looking for the touch.
And something that we saw a year ago after 2 sets and 2 days ago after 2 sets, Stanford has switched Barboza and Kleinman in the lineup. They're opposite where their normal spots are. And it worked a year ago. They came storming back to force a 5th. It also worked 2 days ago, storming back from down 2-0 to win 3-2.
That's right. Penn State was up 2-0 in last year's championship match, and Stanford won sets 3 and 4 before the Nittany Lions won the championship in the 5th. First time in history we've got the same 2 teams in consecutive finals. Megan Hodge rips it.
Wow, that's a scary sight. Right over. And you saw just a little seam between the block. When a hitter gets up this high, she can hit that little bit of a seam right there between Lichtman and Akinradawa. Lichtman has to move it in just a bit. Akinradawa has to get her shoulder right next to Lichtman's.
And Russ Rose, who's been coaching for 30 years, you'd think he'd seen it all, but he says about Megan Hodge, she does more things that I've never seen before. Just a tremendously gifted volleyball player.
She has blown him away sometimes with the capability she has. In fact, earlier this season, playing against Ohio State, they were actually down set point for the first time and turned it on, got the last 3 or 4 kills of that set when they eventually kept their streak alive, winning 30-28 in that set.
Fawcett out of the back row. She cannot step in front of that line to hit. Got the touch for the point.
A great team will usually have one player who can be effective out of the back row, as we saw 2 days ago with Destiny Hooker from Texas. Penn State has both players, 2 players who can do that. They always have, like Hodge right here, but it goes to Harmato. They always have that option to come down the middle out of the back row.
Glass. They'll run it again to Harmato and got up before the block did. The ESPN, the magazine academic All-American of the Year, can swing it too.
And she is so fast in transition. She was blocking just a fraction of a second before, then gets out to the sideline and catches that block unready.
They are getting, if they're not sending it back, they're getting a piece of everything to slow it down as Stanford returns the favor. We're at the NCAA Volleyball Championships. The 2-seed Stanford, the 1-seed Penn State. I'm Beth Mullins along with Kurt Skarai. The Cardinals seeking their 7th national championship. Penn State going for their 3rd and their 2nd in a row. They're also chasing a very special place in history, trying to earn the label of the best team ever. They're undefeated at 37-0. They've rattled off an NCAA record 63-match win streak. And for the first time ever, their entire starting lineup winning All-America honors this season.
Everybody but the libero. And it's awfully hard to get credit if you're a defensive specialist on this Penn State team. Rallies don't last long. You don't get opportunities to dig. Coach Rose was actually very happy just to have an honorable mention in the Big Ten for Roberta Holthouse, who has shown us some great stuff in these last 2 rounds of play.
Russ Rose won the National Coach of the Year honor as Penn State shows us why they are the top blocking team in America.
And one of the reasons why, we talked about it earlier, every player can touch over 10-5, can touch a basketball rim and over the top of these antennas you see out by the sidelines.
Stanford trying to keep this 3rd set close to stay in the match and pull off what they did a year ago when they were down 2-zip to the Nittany Lions and rallied, winning the next 2 sets to force a 5th game. As Kleinman now into double digits, she's got 10 kills.
We got a great view of that coming right at us. Again, when she comes in for that, what's called a rip set, about 10 feet off the sideline, she'll often hit at sharp angle. Penn State needs to adjust and force her to hit down the line, and they were practicing that dig yesterday in practice off Coach Rose himself.
Ailes covers the tip. Waller is blocked. The bump to Barbosa. Gonna have a net violation on the Cardinal. Point Penn State. Alicia Glass back to serve. Barbosa off speed again, but Penn State's got it. Quick hitter to Okoba. Good D by Holthouse. Barbosa tipped. Glass going to back set Blair Brown, who lets it rip.
Two of the best players for Penn State in the postseason got the least awards in the All-American honors.
They are gunning to end it in 3. They're on top 11-6. Krista Harmato, the senior, trying to close out her career. Blair Brown, the sophomore, has just been fantastic in the postseason. Aaron Waller. Defense gets to another one. Fawcett's rejected. Okoba and Waller put that one back.
At that time, Fawcett dragged it down a little bit, barely cleared the net. That's a risky choice as a hitter. You want to try to hit it, as I talked about earlier, flatter into the deepest 5 feet of the court is a much safer shot.
Ailes serving. Good pass to Glass. Ariel Wilson didn't put it away. Point Stanford.
Boy, did she contact that at a high point, though. That's one of those plays where Rose has seen her parts of this season make plays. He'll just say, well, that's unstoppable. Nothing you can do.
She's hitting negative so far in the match. Have not been able to get her on track. Another good block by Stanford. Starting to reassert themselves now at the net.
And Fawcett shaking her head, saying to herself, what do I have to do to put the ball past this block? First, Akoba gets her, then Akinradawo.
Tough serve. It's going to get Stanford a free ball. Barboza. Brown with the touch. Back to Blair. Ailes covers. Barboza's stuffed. How about Kleinman out of the back? Point Penn State.
Nice adjustment in the middle of that rally by Cynthia Barboza. She didn't have a great swing, so she just threw it into the Penn State block. It comes back, and they get a whole new attempt on offense.
Beluka, look at her adjust in midair.
Coach Dunning's talked about what great vision she has. Either that, he says, or she's incredibly lucky, but I think it's the vision. She saw that there were two blockers in front of her, makes the perfect adjustment. The block had vacated an area right behind, and she drops the ball in that area.
What a legacy she will leave. A two-time Pac-10 Player of the Year, four-time All-American, last year's National Player of the Year. Human bio major. She's going to try and be a doctor someday. And oh, look at Hodge. Just pounded that one through the floor.
You can't give Penn State too many opportunities, and Stanford with a miscommunication. So Barboza didn't get a good swing. They get the free ball and crushing it outside and over Cassie Lickman.
Looks like Whole House has some blood on her hand. You see the wrap there on her leg. That was actually over up there on the left leg. She actually cut herself in their pregame warm-up, so she's giving it all for her team. Looks like a cut along the knuckles they have to take care of.
It might have come from chasing that Akinradawo drop shot, that tip that came. She was actually moving in, but leaning a little right when the ball went to her left.
Outdigging Stanford 52-44 so far in the match. Glass somehow got that to Hodge. What a play by Glass to send it out wide.
Wow, what a bump set by Glass. Stanford did not expect that to go to the perfect spot. She was just trying to keep it alive, and Hodge gets a one-on-one.
Alicia Glass, outstanding work. Back to Barboza. Glass. Armato can't send it down. Feluca sliding behind. She crushes it.
Wow, when she gets the ball in the right spot, we've seen now several times with her 9th kill, 2 blockers cannot stop her. She can go sharp angle. She'll see the line open if she wants, and if not, both of those are taken, she'll tip it over for the kill.
Hodge. Fishburne able to keep it alive. Can they bring it back in? You can go out of play and bring it back in on your side, but Lickman unable to dig it up.
And in that case, we saw Stanford going at the front court attacker, offensive player Hodge. She had a much more difficult job. First, she had to control the serve, then go attack, but she handled it well.
Lickman to Akinradawo, rejected by Armato there in the middle. They're probably the top 2 middle blockers in the college game this year. That's why Akinradawo with the rejection.
Akinradawo tried running a new pattern, but Armato was not surprised by that. Really good effort by her. And then at the end, Hodge just running in too soon. She was waiting and waiting and waiting, expecting a much faster set.
15-12 Penn State, games to 25 after win by 2. Bad pass will give Stanford a chance. Okoba with the kill. That's her second.
That's one thing Stanford has had a difficult time doing, is getting Okoba going. She only had 1 kill in the semifinals in 5 sets. Now her second. She's doubled that here, but it took her. That was against Texas 2 days ago.
Glass to Hodge. No stopping that one.
That's really smart by Glass to isolate there and get Hodge against the opposing blocker, Lickman, for Stanford, who is an okay blocker, but Hodge just elevates so much she can go right over.
Fawcett. Barboza out of the back. Hodge gets there. They'll go back to Fawcett. Tried to push it deep. Hodge back row. Point Stanford. How about the job of Okoba at the net?
Great job, but it may have been going out of bounds. Megan Hodge even thought, oh, I wish my teammate Krista Hermano had not touched that, but Hermano just couldn't get out of the way. She was stuck in the wrong place.
Stanford within 2. Penn State wins this set. They win the match. They win the national championship for the 2nd year in a row. Back set. Kleinman stuffed. Hermano and Glass on the side.
Watch how these players get their hands over and across the net. You don't want to get necessarily high with your hands, but across the net with your hands. And Alicia Glass there on your screen, one of the best blocking setters in the country. One of the great credits to her is they don't hesitate to put her on the other team's best hitter. You can't say that about many setters in this women's college volleyball game.
Mom Lori was her coach back in high school. She has a great relationship with assistant coach Salima Rockwell, who was a 3-time All-American setter here at Penn State.
And Rockwell helped her through some rough times. Amazingly, she was still contending for a starting job, not doing it all the time early in the 07 season. But eventually won out the position. They go on to win a title, and now they are only 7 points away from doubling up 2 consecutive titles.
Here's a look at Rockwell. And they're still going to have to take care of some blood on Holthouse. Going to look like a mummy before this one's done, but she wants to stay in the match. Holthouse with 16 digs. That's the most of anyone in the match right now.
One of the things that tough serving of Stanford kept them in that match a year ago. Coming back from 2-0, they ended up having 9 aces in that match, but so far tonight 0 aces for Stanford, having a lot of trouble pressuring Penn State with Stanford's serve.
Barboza coming behind.
Great reach, one-handed reach by Blair Brown to stop that ball.
Waller through the block for the kill.
Nice help here. Watch that one hand, left hand by Blair Brown. Otherwise, that's just going to be a rocket down the middle. Penn State doesn't win the rally, but nice help by Brown in the middle.
Glass to Brown. Now Barboza. Another Penn State block.
That's a tough matchup. Hitting out on that left side against the right side block of Blair Brown. Hands way over the net. Great penetration.
They're up around 9 feet or so in that last block to stuff that one as Waller gets the kill. Point Stanford.
Waller had a huge match 2 years ago for Stanford in a losing effort, pushing Nebraska before Nebraska won 3-1 on this very court.
Falling to Stanford, Nebraska 2 years ago, Penn State last year, their 3rd consecutive final. Hodge gets another kill. The NCAA championship returns to ESPN in March, starting with the indoor track and field championships as the winter season gets underway. For more information on the winter championships, go to ncaa.com. It's the official online home for all 88 NCAA championships. Fawcett into the tape, got it! Out of the back row. Somehow muscled that one over. Timeout Stanford. Penn State within 4 points of a 2nd national championship and a 2nd trip to the White House. We've got Art when we come back. riding a 63 streak, winning 63 consecutive match win streak, which is an NCAA record. Undefeated national champions. So there haven't been very many of them in the 28-year history of this tournament. They would join a very select group. Fawcett can't keep it alive. Here are the only other programs that have done it. Most recently, USC 35-0 back in '03.
And that 1998 Long Beach State was against undefeated Penn State, having lost 2 in a row. But Penn State the next year won, making the 3rd final in a row. And Megan Hodge, unbelievable that tonight, still without a hitting error.
Wow. Last year's NCAA Finals most outstanding player.
Sorry, I missed that. I had an earlier set of stats. She had 0 errors. Now she has just 2 out of 37 attempts.
Lippman to Akinrado. Holthouse gets down again for it. Joust. Armato pushes it over. Now Kleinman, no. Hodge against one blocker with the kill. Penn State 2 points away from the title. Holthouse strong on the serve. Kleinman slowing things down. The Nittany Lions in their record-breaking season. All year long, they've been chasing not only a championship, but a spot in history as the best team ever. They've only dropped 2 sets the entire season. 6 All-Americans on the court right now. The National Coach of the Year, the National Player of the Year, and Nicole Fawcett. Stanford hanging on. The Cardinal trying to stop the bleeding a little bit here. They don't want to be the first team ever to lose in 3 consecutive finals. 15 graduating classes in a row for the Cardinal have won a championship. None of the current players have one yet. Net violation, Penn State. Can they do what they did a year ago when they came from down 2-love to Penn State to force a 5th and deciding set?
Coach Rose doesn't want to let any more than 2 points go without a timeout at this stage with that big lead, not let that slip away.
3 points in a row for the Cardinal to force the timeout. Let's take you back to last December in Sacramento. All of the combatants last year for Penn State are back this year, so they've been playing together for a couple of seasons. Megan Hodge with the kill right there on championship point. She was the most outstanding player of the tournament, and they win it without a senior in the starting lineup. Winners in '99 as well as in '07 for Russ Rose. As their dream season continues, 63 matches they've won in a row. That's an NCAA record.
And they've made every single NCAA tournament. Only one program else to do that. Of course, the team on the other side of the net, Stanford, the 2 premier programs the last few years, along with Nebraska. Consistent excellence.
John Dunning. Hoping his team can pull off the comeback here. Hodge with the double-double, 15 kills, 14 digs. Akinrado is going to serve. So she'll have to play in the back row in this rotation. Hodge. Rakoba got it. Kleinman. Yes! 4 in a row for Stanford.
Well, Penn State might want to think about going back to Krista Armato. The last couple of plays, Stanford's block has slowed Megan Hodge down here.
The bump to Hodge. Cross court for the kill. And a pair of match points here for Penn State. championship point number 2. Glass looking to Harmato, blocked. Krista's gonna set it. Fawcett running in, off the block. The national championship for the second year in a row goes to a perfect Penn State Nittany Lions.